everyone, my name is Dillon Gonzalez. I'm the editorial director of GeekVibesNation.com and also a co-host of the Home Dance Film Festival podcast. And welcome to a brand new episode of No Streaming Required, your weekly deep dive into all the latest and greatest in the world of physical media. We have a terrific episode for you this week. We have a long-awaited HD upgrade of a cult favorite comedy. We have Japanese cinema, Hong Kong cinema, giant creature features, not so giant creature features, 4K upgrades from Kino. We have a little bit of everything, and I'm really excited to dive into it. But I am going to start off with that long-awaited HD upgrade. This is courtesy of Shout Studios, and it is Death To Smoochy. This is one that for several years I've been kind of pitching to Warner Archive to hopefully get this out, but it is Shout Studios that has the honor of finally giving this the Blu-ray upgrade that I know I've wanted for a long time, and I know a lot of fans have wanted for a long time. This is not the most prestige title for many. This was a financial bomb when it was released originally, and just kind of people kind of overlooked it, but in subsequent years, it has gained a cult following. It is directed by Danny DeVito, who also appears in the movie. It's a dark comedy starring Edward Norton and Robin Williams, which is very poignant to be recording this on the anniversary of his untimely passing, and it has a great ensemble, including Catherine Keener and other people that you know really well that just show up in bit parts that I was very excited to kind of rediscover when I watched this again. So this, for those who don't know, Death To Smoochy is kind of like a really dark satire of children's programming, and it's like a children's program kind of in the vein of like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood or Barney, mixed with like a kind of a crime drama of like a Goodfellas type. There is a power vacuum in the children's television space whenever a disgraced host, played by Robin Williams, gets caught doing something he shouldn't be doing, and he is replaced by Edward Norton's character, who develops this character named Smoochy. He is like kind of an altruistic good guy who's trying to do everything for the good of the kids, but the world of children's programming is shown to be kind of like very shady, and people doing stuff to try to make a bunch of money and all this stuff. And it kind of has like this mob element to it. And it's this really dark clash of tones where there's like these buoyant kids programming songs mixed with like people getting hits put out on them. It's really funny, really dark, R-rated, and like there's like a Nazi rally in here. There's all kinds of stuff in here that it's really subversive, and I think a lot of people just didn't know what to do with it whenever it came out in the early 2000s. But it is a really kind of like fun, I'm not sure if that's the right word, but it's really clever comedy that with a lot of great performances and really great like craft elements like production design, makeup, just cinematography. Everything about this is clicking. And since it's directed by Danny DeVito, he's a really special director who I wish he would make more movies, because he made one of my favorite films of the 90s, which is Matilda. And just to see kind of his range of movies, he would always do really great behind the camera, and in addition to in front of the camera, which we all know. But this is a fun one. If you are not easily offended, Death To Smoochy is worth discovering again, especially on Blu-ray. My wife, she really wanted to watch this movie earlier this year, and I told her, like, I always had these feelings of when things are going to be upgraded to Blu-ray. I knew it was only a matter of time, but she also has the innate power to, anytime she wants to watch something, it'll inevitably, a couple months later, be announced in like Blu-ray or 4K upgrade. This is one she bought in March, and now you have it on Blu-ray, so you can thank her. This is from a new 2K scan of the Interpositive. It looks very nice compared to that cheap DVD that she bought. Really rich, vibrant colors, nice and film-like, really great textures on like the Smoochy suit, and just some of like the production design within here. It's just a really nice, natural looking transfer. It's the HD upgrade that we've all been wanting for years. And I don't think fans will be disappointed. DTS 5.1 and 2.0 sound, both of those sound really great, very full, especially like the original songs that are composed for the movie. They sound really big and nice in the surround sound channels. You get a good number of new special features in addition to the archival special features. So the archival commentary track with Danny DeVito and the cinematographer it's carried over from the DVD release that was recorded a few months after the film's release. DeVito kind of jokingly refers to it as like he's recording it at the end of his mourning period, and he has like a kind of a good attitude about things, but he has a lot of great insights into the production. You also have some new interviews, including a 13-minute interview with the performer who plays the sidekick on the show, an 8-minute interview with the costume designer, a 7-minute interview with the composer, all the original behind-the-scenes featurettes, deleted scenes, bloopers, trailers, everything's carried over, and then you also get some new interviews, which makes this a pretty great value. So if you've been waiting for this on Blu-ray, they treated this right at Shout. I'm glad that it did get this Blu-ray and some new special features, and pick it up. It's fun. It's Robin Williams got into this point where he kind of started doing some like weird and offbeat stuff like this and 1 Hour Photo and stuff that really kind of shook up his kind of more mainstream friendly side, which, I mean, anyone who knows Robin Williams knows that he could go very blue and stuff, but this was just a particularly interesting diversion, and I think it's worth checking out if you've ever been curious about it, or if you think it's time for a revisit. It's time to revisit Death To Smoochy. So thank you to Shout. Moving over to something a little bit more respectable, but from a label I like just as much. From Radiance Films, this is Tokijiro, The Lone Yakuza. So this here, I will remove this OBI strip and then give you a look at the cover art unadorned with that, and then the reversible cover art. So you have here just a nice full image here, and then on the other side, inside the package, you have the reversible cover art, which I'll show you this way for time's sake. And then the disc here, and then a nice booklet as usual with the first printings of these sets. So if you want nice essays and stuff and restoration notes, all that good stuff, make sure to get the first pressing. And this kind of continues the great work that Radiance has been putting out. This is another Toei film that they kind of got from that deal. I believe this is from the same director who I covered a couple weeks ago with his film 18 Years in Prison. This is a tale of a lone figure who is wanting to kind of stay out of all kinds of interactions, and he just wants to keep to himself, but he keeps kind of get pulled into different scenarios, and he ends up killing the husband of this woman that he befriends on the road, and the young child. He's kind of ordered to kill this man, or like a man is ordered to kill him, and he kind of defends himself. And then he ends up trying to take on responsibilities of caring for this family, and while he's also on his own path for revenge, which I won't get too much into. But it's basically just a man who's trying to kind of keep to himself, but he keeps getting put in situations where he has to fight and kill people. This is a really good film, very tragic in many ways, really good central performance from our protagonist. And then it takes some turns that I wasn't quite expecting, but in interesting ways. I mean, it bummed me out a lot of times, but it was narratively very interesting. And just, there were some good, it's not like martial arts film in the typical sense. You're not having like big action sequences or anything, but there's some really smooth, like kind of confrontations whenever characters are fighting with one another that I think are pulled off very well. It's a very carefully paced effort. It's not too long. I think it's a little over 90 minutes, and it just all flows very well with one another. So if you're a fan of Japanese cinema, especially Yakuza films, definitely check this one out, because Radiance Films has put forth the efforts that we have come to expect from them. This is a HD master that has been supplied by Toei. And they took very good care of it. It looks very nice. It's not a new restoration courtesy of Radiance, but the Toei HD master that was delivered to them looks really good, and it just no big blemishes or anything. It's all very natural, film-like. It's what you want from an HD master. You have the original Japanese mono. You get a 17-minute featurette on the director, and then another 18-minute new piece on the star. So there's 2 additional supplements on the director and star, and then a great HD master and an interesting story. So overall, Tokijiro, Lone Yakuza, definitely worth checking out. If you're a fan of what Radiance has been putting out, which you should be because they're amazing, it's another good one on the pile. So just another notch in the win column. I can't complain at all. Heading over to Hong Kong cinema, but jumping back over into Japan narratively, this is A Man Called Tiger from Eureka. This stars Jimmy Wong Yu, who I talked about. This reversible cover art here. I talked about last week with 88 Films release of The Chinese Boxer. So it was nice to see him again so quickly because I'm becoming a bigger fan with each effort that I check out. You can see that the cover art that's on the slip cover is underneath here as reversible. This comes with a booklet here. So you got some nice essays and stuff and restoration notes, and then you also have a fold out poster, which I will show here. It's just what I've shown you on both sides of the cover art, here. So this finds Jimmy Wong Yu as a man. So much Asian cinema is based on revenge. This involves him going from Hong Kong to Japan to find the man who he thinks is responsible for his father's suicide, and is kind of like unraveling what happened to his dad, and just kind of he meets several different women along the way, and then also just kind of gets in a bunch of fights, all this kind of stuff. So it's kind of like a typical revenge tale, like man in the city going through obstacle after obstacle to find the big bad who he thinks has wronged him. It works really well, mainly because Jimmy's performance. Also, another reason this works very well is for the first time, I think, ever on home entertainment, and maybe since the film was in theaters, there's the original theatrical cut that Eureka has restored, and it's a substantial difference. There's, I believe, a 33-minute difference between the butchered export cut, which has been the main cut that's been available to at least US audiences up until now, and the original cut of the movie, which, like I said, runs 33 minutes longer. In this cut especially, I don't understand why they cut certain things that they cut in the export version, because like the film starts with a really great action sequence that really kind of settles you into this story, and that is not present in the export cut. It starts on a more like somber meditative note, and I'm like, that is not what international audiences want. You don't cut the fight scenes. If anything, you cut the narrative and make it kind of messy and people don't know what's going on, but they want to see the fight scenes. So but that has been restored. You can see it in its full glory courtesy of this Eureka release. And there's so many great action sequences. Jimmy Wong Yu was kind of like kind of a star in training around, like trying to fill the vacuum of Bruce Lee, and I love a lot of his movies, and a lot of impressive stuff. There's like you can kind of see a little bit here, there's like a suspension vehicle, like a suspension bridge kind of thing, that there's a really impressive set piece on that I would not be surprised if Jimmy was doing his own stunts based on how it's kind of worked out. But it's a really wild time, and this restoration is really nice. It is a 2K restoration of the uncut version, but the export version that's cut down has also been restored in 2K. You get 2 commentary tracks, both on the uncut version, a 7-minute piece. It's very interesting. I haven't seen this much. It's a 7-minute piece that kind of recreates subtitles that were never used. So we know that this film has a history of being cut down. So this is a recreation of scenes that we're not quite sure were ever actually in the movie, but provide a little bit more context to certain scenes. So it got to the point of subtitles being made for them, but the footage is just kind of nowhere to be found. So it, in an audio form, has been recreated, and kind of it leads into some of the scenes that are actually in the movie. So it's kind of a 7-minute recreation of like scenes that audiences will never be able to see unless just a treasure trove of footage is unearthed. So so that's a really cool featurette. And then you also get kind of 2 music videos and some trailers. But Eureka, ever since they've been coming to the US to release some of their releases, I've been so excited, and they do a really nice job with A Man Called Tiger. So Hong Kong cinema fans, you'll be happy with this release. Going into the world of Kino, I typically try to do a solo Kino episode, but just with the way releases have been coming in, I have a ton of Kino that I don't want audiences to have to wait on. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Prime Cut on 4K Ultra HD. So this is another one you can thank my wife for, because this was one that she suggested that we pick up on Blu-ray in the Kino Lorber sale last year. And then of course, like within a month of us doing that, there were rumors that they were working on a 4K, and I was like, the most random titles can be manifested by her. But we finally got to check this out on 4K, and it is a wild movie. It starts with a man. You don't see it, but it is implied that a man is made into like some sausage links and mailed to his bosses. And it kind of settles us into this seedy world of this Midwest kind of farm factory actually trafficking young girls. And they're having issues with this kind of Irish mob who they owe money to. So the Irish mob sends Lee Marvin's character down to deal with the plant manager played by Gene Hackman, who is like dealing with these girls. One of which is Sissy Spacek in her debut performance, and she kind of gets rescued by Lee Marvin's character. So it is this clashing of these 2 warring clans, like two warring forces. So Lee Marvin versus Gene Hackman in this kind of like dirty, noirish crime drama that is very bizarre, but in a really fun and interesting way. And there's some really thrilling sequences in here that takes full advantage of the Midwest kind of scenery and like vehicles that are around and stuff. So I really like kind of the inventiveness of this, and it's kind of like almost like a satire on certain crime movies and just like the way things unfold. It's very bizarre, but it also works as like a straightforward crime drama as well. So this is a really bizarre, interesting one, and everyone does a really good job. You have the star power of these 3 leads and more. This compared to the old Blu-ray, this has been given a 4K scan of the 35mm original camera negative in Dolby Vision. I found this to look pretty nice. This has a lot of darker scenes, like in hallways and kind of shadowy enclaves that hold up very well. I didn't see a lot of black crush or anything like that. The wide open skies, there's a little bit of kind of instability in the encoding at points with some of the like brighter skies, but most hold together pretty well. It's a pretty decent encode in terms of what Kino's recent output has been. And overall, it's just a really nice organic looking transfer that maybe could be finessed a little bit more, but overall it's a pleasing transfer. This does come with 2 commentary tracks and some trailers, no other special features. But if you're a fan, it's a nice release from Kino, and I'm glad to finally catch it in 4K. Another 4K release we have is No Way Out with Kevin Costner, once again with Gene Hackman. So this was one that I first caught last year on Max, once again because of my wife, and she manifested this 4K. This was previously on Blu-ray courtesy of Shout, and that went out of print, and now we have this coming back in 4K and Blu-ray on courtesy of Kino. I do not have that previous Shout release, but this one it works really well. But for those who don't know, No Way Out is kind of like a reworking of the classic The Big Clock, which was also made into a movie, and it was an original novel. But it is about Kevin Costner's character plays like a man who works for he's like a serviceman who works for a very powerful senator played by Gene Hackman, who they don't know it, or Gene Hackman doesn't know it, but they are dating the same woman. She doesn't really want to be in the relationship with Gene Hackman's character anymore, but this woman, a tragic fate befalls her, and it becomes this kind of cat and mouse thriller where basically Kevin Costner is hired to investigate himself, and it's kind of like this really interesting twisty thriller where you're trying to figure out how he's going to get out of this, how he's going to prove certain people are guilty when they are, and just it's like a really tense kind of drama that once the inciting kind of tragedy happens, it takes place over a pretty short time span, but it's very tense, and like it just kind of really goes to the toxicity of like being too devoted to like a political figure and ideology and everything like that. And there's a really interesting twist from the at the very end of the movie that is was really intriguing for me to watch this time, knowing what that is and kind of recontextualizing some of the things that I see within the movie. So this is one that you can watch a couple different times to get a little bit more out of it. I love Kevin Costner and Gene Hackman. They're like two of our best, and it's just a really great kind of twisty thriller. This is from a 4K scan of 35mm original camera negative. It looks really pretty nice in Dolby Vision. It holds together pretty well. Pretty solid encode, not too much in the way of encoding failures. It's not the most vibrant Dolby Vision presentation. It is kind of like, it's not popping off the screen, but it's saturated pretty well. So overall, I think it's a pretty solid transfer. I think it is the best that it looks on disc, even though it might not wow you as much as certain other 4K discs. 5.1 and 2.0 sound, 2 commentary tracks, and a additional audio piece that runs about 38 minutes with the director, which is pretty interesting. If you missed this whenever it's out from Shout, No Way Out is worth catching up on. We have a couple of re-releases from Kino. These were both released several years back, and they're being released with a few upgrades. The first is 99 River Street. On this one, we have John Payne playing an ex-boxer who is no longer able to box, so he has had to become a cabbie, and he ends up his girlfriend. His girlfriend gets killed, and the person who killed her is trying to pin it on him because they had a fight earlier in the night, and he teams up with another woman played by Evelyn Keyes to kind of clear his name and try to like actually get the guy who actually killed his girlfriend. And it's like a really interesting noir where the walls are closing in on this man who has been accused of this murder, who everyone believes, like all the signs point to him just because of his temper and all this kind of stuff, and them trying to clear him. It's a pretty nifty film noir. I quite enjoyed it. This was originally released in 2016. It was from a 2K scan of the 35mm fine grain. This is the same master as that one, but it has been newly encoded on a Blu-ray 50 instead of a Blu-ray 25, so it has a little bit more room to breathe. There are quite a few nicks and scratches and stuff like that, but it's a passable transfer. It could use a refresh, but it looks fine. You do get an audio commentary from Eddie Muller, who's one of the best to talk about film noir. And then you also get the addition of subtitles on this one. So if you missed this originally, 99 River Street, it's good for film noir fans. I'm glad it's back in print because I hadn't seen it before, and it was good to catch up on. My next one is another re-release with Burt Reynolds, not what you typically know Burt Reynolds for. This is Sergio Corbucci's Navajo Joe. So Burt Reynolds playing a Native American, which I've read that he has like the smallest bit of like Native American in him, but still it made me a little bit uncomfortable. But Navajo Joe is another revenge tale. It's kind of like a spaghetti western-esque flavor of a man who has reasons for wanting to kind of track down these bandits, and then he also ends up getting hired by this town to also track down these bandits because they're going around causing a ruckus, and it's just like a trail of just kind of like death and destruction and just Burt Reynolds trying to seek revenge. And if that sounds fun to you, no mustache, no facial hair, just straight Burt Reynolds, It works. It's a pretty decent time waster. It's not like Corbucci's best, but it owes a debt to Django, which is out on 4K from Arrow if you haven't seen that one yet. But it's in the same vein. If you like Django, I think you have a pretty good chance of liking this. If you're a Reynolds fan who wants to see him kind of play more in a period piece or anything, check it out. This was originally released on in 2020 or 2015. This has now been upgraded to a Blu-ray 50 from a Blu-ray 25. It has a new commentary track from Alex Cox, who is a filmmaker and an author. And then you also have the original select scene commentary track, which was on the previous release. This also has additional subtitles that were not on the original release. So, and you also get the slipcover on this and 99 River Street. As just kind of an added bonus for those who love slipcovers. So Navajo Joe, check it out. My next releases, they are very similar to one another, so I'm going to go through them very quickly because they're all kind of within the same subgenre, and a lot of the same stuff happens with them. So I'm not going to go into the narrative nuances of these. You have Kingdom of the Spiders, H.G. Wells' Food of the Gods. You have Frogs. You have Squirm, and you have Empire of the Ants. So I'll kind of briefly show off each of these. So all of these are creature features. I've also, where I can, I've reversed the reversible cover art so you can kind of see. One of these has two different cover arts in it that's different from the slipcover, which I'll show that off as well, but I'll just kind of mainly just talk in generalities. So all of these are kind of creature features where it's like people against the elements. So this is the one where you have an additional artwork here underneath. So this one stars William Shatner. A lot of these covers will make you think that there are actual giant bugs or insects or there are on some of these. Like, there are some bigger rats on Food of the Gods and stuff, and Empire of the Ants. But most of these, like Kingdom of the Spiders, are kind of just more almost zombie-esque in their approach of just like there's a bunch of spiders who get together and kind of slowly overrun you until you're kind of trapped. This one I was particularly interested in because of a young Sam Elliott, but it is also one of the more false advertising because you don't have an actual lot of frogs killing people directly. There's usually other amphibians that are doing the work. Here we have Joan Collins. So if you're wanting to see frogs kill people, there's a little bit of it, but not too much. But it is what it is. I still enjoyed it. You do have some big ants in Empire of the Ants. And finally, we got Squirm. Out of these, Squirm, I would say, is the most grotesque. You have some really gnarly special effects and stuff. Empire of the Ants is probably the most fun. I was most intrigued, like the slowest, but the one I was most intrigued by was Frogs because of Sam Elliott. And Food of the Gods is also another pretty solid like entry into this. There's mostly rats, but there's also some other creatures that get bigger and stuff. I will quickly go through the special features and then I'll kind of tell you about the transfers. So Kingdom of the Spiders. This one was previously released by Code Red. This has 3 commentary tracks, one of which is new, 2 interviews, a radio spot, and trailers. You had previously Scream Factory released Food of the Gods and Frogs in a 2-pack. So Food of the Gods, it has 2 commentary tracks, one of which is new, 1 interview, a radio spot, and a trailer. Frogs has a new commentary track, an interview, radio spot, and trailer. On Squirm, you have 2 commentary tracks, one of which is new, 33-minute documentary on the making of it, a 7-minute location scouting and a radio spot and a trailer. And then on Empire of the Ants, this was a part of a Scream double feature, but the other feature in that original double feature is not being released right now. So you have 2 commentary tracks, one of which is new, and a radio spot and a trailer. So all of these have something new to them, but they are also just filling the market of those outer print discs that for those who love kind of these cheesy creature features. They are now back in print. None of these have new scans or restorations or anything. So how they looked before, they are going to look like that now. Most of them look pretty good. There's some roughness here and there. Some of them could use some remasters. I would say Empire of the Ants and maybe Food of the Gods looks best. But they all look pretty decent. It's just just don't expect new like 2K scans or 4K scans. I think a lot of people would buy these on 4K, but these have just been re-released on Blu-ray with pre-existing masters. So get your creature feature on if you really want to have a good time this Halloween season. Even though Frogs does take place on the 4th of July, so I'm a little bit late on that, but it's good anytime. And finally, my 4K release from Kino Classics is a double feature of And Soon Darkness and Sudden Terror. I only owned And Soon Darkness previously. I had not watched it yet, and Sudden Terror I did not own, or I have not seen at all. Unlike most releases, this only has a 4K disc. I think because these were released as Blu-rays separately previously, and they did not want to have to include 3 discs in this package and make like it cost more packaging wise and stuff. So you only get the 4K discs. And so, And Soon the Darkness, that one is a pretty interesting thriller about 2 girls who are like out like on an adventure in the country. One of them gets lost and the other one is trying to like find out what happened to her, and it leads down to some really kind of thrilling, tense Hitchcockian type thrills. And Sudden Terror is kind of like A Boy Cried Wolf. It's about a young boy who's always lying and making up exaggerated stories, who actually sees a political assassination carried out by a cop, but no one will believe him, and the cops start trying to chase him down to try to take out the kind of lingering loose end that they have on this kind of assassination. And both of these are really good. I really enjoyed catching up with both of them, and they're just really nice, tight thrillers that just work very well. These are both around 90-ish minutes long, so this disc is not overstuffed. They are both from 4K scans of the 35mm original camera negatives in standard dynamic range. These are not in HDR. These are the same 2019 masters that were previously released, just released at their full 4K capabilities. It's not like I only have And Soon the Darkness. It's not a night and day upgrade from that disc, but it does look really nice in 4K, and it maybe kind of cleans up some of the little minor issues here and there, and it makes it look a little bit crisper. The 4K SDR, it's not like mind-blowing difference, but to have both of these at a pretty decent, affordable price on one disc, it works out really well. Both of these have a commentary track, or a pair of commentary tracks each, and some trailers and stuff. So if you're a fan of either of these films, this 4K presentation in standard dynamic range, I think is worth it. And there are rumors that if this sells well, that we'll get more kind of Peril and Distress collections that I would be very much looking forward to checking out. So that is my slate this week. I appreciate those who tuned in for this one. Let me know what you liked. Let me know what you're looking forward to. If there's something that I featured that you think someone else would be interested in, make sure to share that with them. I will be back again next week with another interesting slate of titles. But thank you for subscribing to the Geek Vibes Nation YouTube channel. Make sure to like this video. Keep coming back. But until next time, enjoy these movies.